Industrial sociology, its scope and importance. Analyze the relationship between industry and sociology. Describe the scope of industrial sociology. Discuss the purpose of sociology. Illustrate the significance of industrial sociology in manufacturing. Outline the importance of industrial sociology. Dear students, today we are going to learn about industrial sociology, which means dealing with the sociology involved with work. It analyzes the changes and trends in the technology, globalization, work structure, relations in employment, and the markets in the labor society. It also relates the above mentioned features to the families that experience these changes and how they resist such changes. In few words, it can be told as overcoming resistance to change. No matter which society one lives in, all human beings depend on systems of production to survive. For people in all societies, productive activity or work makes up the largest part of their life. It takes up more time than any other single type of behavior. First of all, the basic relationship between industry and society will be analyzed. In early days, industry was just an organization with technical and management development. But nowadays, every industry is considered as a society. Next part of the chapter emphasizes on the scope of industrial sociology with a real-world example. Let us consider some important work societies such as food, carpentry, stone masonry and shipbuilding. In these societies, there exists an industrial development. So, a lot of physical and mental effort is required in carrying out these tasks and adapting to changes. An occupation or job is work that is done in exchange for a regular wage or salary. The third section in this chapter talks about the purpose of industrial sociology. In all cultures, work is the basis of the economy or economic system. The economic system for any given culture is made up of the institutions that provide for the production and distribution of goods and services. These institutions may vary from culture to culture, particularly in traditional societies versus modern societies. So, the next part of the chapter explains industrial sociology in a manufacturing industry. Later in this chapter, you will learn importance of industrial sociology. Research shows that it is very evident to maintain industrial sociology in any organization. Relation between industry and sociology. How many of you clearly understand the relation between industry and sociology? Let us begin analyzing how they are interrelated and cannot function without one another. The science dealing with the origin, evolution and development of human society and its organization, institution and functions is known as sociology. Man made his decision to live as a society when he had a choice to be alone. The only reason being there are stronger animals than man. Let us now analyze how evolution has played such an important role in this process. Man has always been dependent on other food producers. Therefore, the long journey of evolution of man made him develop the group living ways and thus society is formed. Thus, the study dealing with requirements of men living in group led to development of sociology. That is why man is popularly known as social animal. Now, we are going to understand what industry actually means. A major problem for industrial sociologists is to define their central term industry. A major part of research was always done about factory workers and factory work situations. So, a great deal of time was spent on this. It is a very difficult topic to actually generalize because so many options and situations need to be considered. Also, there is a type of work called non-factory work for which separate standards need to be drawn. There was a time when casual work manners and behavior was also overemphasized on. So, there was no particular boundary to how ethics can be defined in an industry, both inside and outside the plant. Even today, there is considerable research on the internal and external effects of automation, information technology, and flexible methods of work organization. An interesting feature is that because industries tend to maintain such a norm kind of policy, they have a fulfilling effect and as a result contentment. Behavior of man definitely has to be different. When living in group as individual behavior should not disturb others. Rules, norms and laws become a necessity and mandatory. Then it is an economic activity concerned with the processing of raw materials and manufacture of goods in factories. Industry also means hard work. This is where the topic of industrial sociology becomes such an important subject in the discussion. After India got freedom, Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of independent India, gave name to industries, temples of modern India. Nature and scope of industrial sociology. Let me put forth a simple question. How can you define the boundary to the behavior of an industry? In any discussion on the nature and scope of industrial sociology, we have to remind ourselves that no absolute boundaries exist in the field of sociology. Let us go back to a little in history and realize what brought about an interest in industrial sociology. The interest of sociologists in the factory and other economic institutions as a social system involving a complex pattern of social interrelationships was first aroused by the failure of certain illumination experiments carried out at the Hawthorne Works of the Western Electric Company in Chicago between 1924 and 1947. This and other later investigations serve to prove now one incontestable fact. Technical efficiency is not enough. Rates of pay, hours of work, rest pauses and lighting, though important, may be of less significance than human attitudes and feelings. At last, the sociological implication of work relationships was understood. What the Hawthorne studies actually did was to demonstrate the need for a science of industrial sociology. Three fundamental rules that govern industrial sociology are: work is an essential condition for the development of human character. Man, being a social animal, finds his chief means of achieving satisfaction in life through daily association with men and women. The best and most progressive form of industrial organization is based on democratic principles. Purpose of sociology and social relations. In the next part of the chapter, we are going to have a small discussion which would answer the following questions. Why sociology? What does it bring about in an industry? In recent days, it has been realized that the industry is by itself a society with different levels of workers. Originally, it was considered as just an economic and technical organization. But now, there is eminent proof that it is multi-level society and relationship between these levels is thus very important. Sociology, therefore, is concerned with social relations in industry and their influence on industrial phenomena like productivity, morale, attitude, functional authority, etc., which in turn affects the production of goods and services. This directly affects the national development and global economic market. Types of relations in industry. Now that we have discussed that industry is nowadays considered as a society, it is important to list out and analyze the types of relations inside the industry. These social relations in industry may be internal or external. Internal relations are those existing within industry itself concerning management, operations or both, whereas external relations are between industry and outside bodies as government, community, educational institutions, etc. The types of relations in any industry are internal relations, informal relations, mixed relations, external relations. Internal relations. The most important relation is the internal relations. It can be further subdivided into informal and mixed types. These are very significant in taking any industry forward. Formal relations immediately arise from performance of one's approved duties to the organization, may be managerial or operational, depending upon whether these are proper to the management or workmen or operations. Formal relations may also be statutory or sanctioned by law or custom, or those implied in collective bargaining, grievance procedure, industrial councils, adjudication, etc. Popularly known as industrial relations, they literally go more extensively. Informal relations. Informal relations exist in an industry where common rules are either ignored or sustained. Though hardly ever officially regulated, they are ordinarily sustained by common rules of ethics and customs. Informal relations may exist among individuals as when two or more workmen criticize or grumble against their supervisor, agree to play cards, interaction between different groups or individuals such as trade union groups. Mixed relations. Mixed relations, also described by social scientists as socio-technical relationship, play great roles in the industry. Arising out of discharge of one's duties, which may be managerial or technical nature, mixed relations are also called socio-functional. While instructing a trainee on the job, trainer cracks joke or drops some pleasantries, commenting like lazy bones, socio-functional relations are developed. External relations. It is very difficult for any industry to exist without external relations. These include outside clients, vehicle drivers, food suppliers, etc. To bring about a good relationship with these outside businesses, public relation officers, also known as PROs, are appointed to. They help in easing the process. Industrial sociology in the manufacturing of products. Let's make our study interesting with an example. It is always a common practice for man to make rules for him to behave in this society. Man-made laws differ from those which are natural and universal. For instance, the rule that human beings must grow and mature. Industrial sociology deals with soft skills of man. It plays a vital role in building nation as it helps in increasing the production and thus helps in gross domestic product rising. More so with quality as competition can be faced. Today, there is noticeable increase of interest in quality on the part of both industry and society. Many reasons exist for the greater interest in quality, higher demands for quality from customers, greater competition, demands for better profitability, and legislation on product liability. Good results cannot be achieved through work on only one department in the organization. It is necessary for all those functions which come into contact with the product during its development, manufacture, and use to cooperate in this work of all sectors in the industry. This means that quality must be considered and controlled by all these functions: market research, product development, manufacturing engineering, purchasing, production, inspection, marketing, after-sales service. It is also necessary to coordinate the work of these functions on quality, that the enterprise should have a wide approach to quality. Our lives are dependent in many ways on industrial products: shelter, nutrition, communications, healthcare, work, recreation, and national security. An important and basic aspect of any type of product, goods, or services is that they must be fit to use. Even a small malfunction in use may lead to injury, discomfort, death, or economic loss. Since all these functions are created by men in manufacture of any product, those involved form a group and thus society is formed. Importance and significance of industrial sociology. As we approach the end of this topic, it is necessary to discuss the importance of industrial sociology. Industrial sociology has acquired significance in progressive society where industrial revolution played great role which was necessitated to cater the growing demands of ever-increasing population. Following benefits increase the significance of industrial sociology. Use of scientific methods. Industrial sociology acquires greater significance in view of scientific methods adapted to study. To understand it by establishing cause-effect relationship, scientific knowledge helps. All-round progress of mankind depends upon moving up the ladder of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that is, food, the bottommost need. With the onset of Industrial Revolution, development of industries took the center stage. Industrial development in any nation became a key factor in deciding the progress of that nation. As science helped industrial development, the systematic knowledge acquired using scientific methods, human behavior became very handy. Thus, industrial sociology as a subject of study gained currency. Various institutions dealing with industrial society, its social control, social dynamics, social change, problems and their remedies came up and thereby widened the scope of industrial sociology. It would not be exaggeration to say that without knowledge of industrial sociology, industrial progress could not have been achieved. The importance of industrial sociology made the premise of setting up Tata Institute of Social Sciences in Mumbai. Solutions from industrial society to the problems of industry. Based on knowledge and experience, people are employed in industries leading to formation of various layers taking care of different job roles and responsibilities. Industrial Revolution gave birth to industries which are organized to achieve its objectives. Job roles decided expertise, division of labor and degree of responsibility, and thus created vertical and horizontal setup in the organization. Occupation hazards are associated with industries which require matching counterbalance in the form of money, perks, glamour and other welfare measures. As workmen, supervisors, executives, policymakers are associated with any industry, a stratum is formed which gives feeling of differentiation, status consciousness, inferiority, superiority complex, etc. Industrial relations. Industrial relations play a vital role in development of industries in any country. The management policies, its objectives, long-term and short-term goals decide its working environment. In short, we can say the mission and vision of any company in theory and practice speak about the company. The relationship between workman and management has to be harmonious for industrial rest, and once that is there, industrial progress is bound to happen. Production has to multiply. The production coupled with the quality is the need for growth of any industry. Industrial sociology helps in achievement of this objective. Important factors playing great roles in good industrial relations are rates of wages, working conditions, welfare measures, recruitment policies, job security, etc. Welfare measures are widely covered under the heading of food, cloth and house, roti, kapda or makan. Industrial sociology is gaining importance due to its role played in taking care of all these discussed matters. Mutual trust, sense of belonging, feeling of ownership, team spirit or knitting social industrial fabric which ultimately result into higher quality production and give sustenance and thus growth is achieved. Initial steps of ladder of hierarchy of needs of Maslow where food, safety and security are very important to be given topmost priority to make workmen take their duty seriously. Economic planning. After India gained freedom, the progress of nation was to be carried out on solid foundations, and thus it adopted 5-year plan growth approach. Called Temples of Modern India by first Prime Minister of India, Sri Jawaharlal Nehru, industrial growth was aimed in 5-year plan to solve many problems arising mainly out of population. Illiteracy, low level of wages, corruption, lack of trained people and professional approach are some of the problems which require intervention of industrial sociologists. Industrial automation. Industrial revolution came with onset of mechanization. The increased requirements of people necessitated invention of steam engine to mechanize processes such as cloth weaving in England. More automation means less manual work and in turn less employment. It gave more profits to industrialists, and so more automation was opposed by workmen's unions. Here, role of industrial sociologist brings solution to the dispute. Integration of family. The unit of any society is family, which requires special attention. Any disturbance caused due to any social evil such as alcoholism, insufficient housing, bad recreation, uncontrolled media and print as well as electronic would disorganize industrial society in particular. Disintegration of family is bound to happen. Industrial sociology gives insight leading to solutions of many problems arising out of progress in industries. In this chapter, we briefed over about what is industrial sociology and how it is directly related to the physical and mental abilities of workers and their families. Industrial sociology is an applied discipline. It is concerned with the study of human relations as they grow and operate in the field of industries. It deals with the sociological concepts that have relevance to industry. It concentrates upon the social organizations of the workplace or industry. It studies the patterns of interaction between people in terms of their roles in industrial organizations. We were enlightened about the development of industries. The requirement of sociologists and psychologists grow up faster and faster. This helps in determining the relations which exist in the field of management between the managers of industry and the several labor units. We stressed on the role of human agency and social structure in determining which firms become associated into an industry and in defining the scope and structure of the resulting collectivity. Standard economic discussions of industrial organization neglect human agency since they assume that industrial structure is an inevitable and efficient consequence of existing technology and market conditions. At the opposite extreme from this functionalism, in which the activity of individuals is irrelevant because outcomes automatically meet the needs of the economic system, is the argument that certain industries take the form they do on account of the activity of a few great men or women. Such a position is taken by some historians. We argue that human agency is vastly underestimated in the former argument, but overestimated in the latter, and that while individual and collective actions are critical, they operate only within sharply defined historical and structural constraints. In the important section of the chapter, you learned about the remedies to problems in any industrial society. Also, the relation between scientific knowledge and industry was discussed along with the stability of the industrial society. Industrial sociology also emphasized on the social labor classes and helps in personality integration. It was very evident that without industrial sociology, labor legislations and familial integration is very difficult. Another important area in any organization is the industrial management, in which industrial sociology plays a very significant role. In a broader sense, industrial sociology helps in national peace and management. Most important of all is that it assists in the planning of any industry.